Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby. Today the beta server included the re-release of the One Punch Man collab for Ragnarok Mobile. In addition to the re-release, they also have new buffs and cards. I'm excited since both of these heroes bring back good memories of the past. Saitama is the best MVP hunter in the game since his damage is insane, plus he has good follow-up as well. That means he can also do well in instances, although he's not that great with dealing with mobs. If you like MVP hunting, Saitama is a must-buy, and I do love using Saitama on global to MVP hunt. Also in recent times, it also gained popularity in Ghost Palace, being able to AFK to kill Kane. Next for PvP, I do see Saitama occasionally, since he can be tanky while doing a ton of damage. Like last time, you can unlock this job change voucher for 300 BCC by rolling 10 times on the Collab gacha machine. Next for Genos, at the time of his release, he was one of the best magic DPS for PvE. I think Genos will be interesting now since he has to compete with Liu Maoxing, which is the last collab. I currently think Liu Maoxing is the best magic DPS in the game who can also provide great buffs for the party. Whereas Genos doesn't really have good party buffs, so he's definitely at a big disadvantage there. Also, Genos channeling can be a bit frustrating to target, especially when the target moves around and also getting interrupted as well. But for PvP, it's good for choke points, and I've been destroyed many times by Genos in PvP, so it's still quite good there. And like last time, he requires additional money to purchase. Once you hit that amount, then you get his job change voucher. For example, you get Genos if you spend 328 Chinese yuan, which is about 44 US dollars, and that's about how much I spent last time to get him on global. I personally think Genos will need more buffs to compete with Liu Maoxing, otherwise the incentive to buy him will be much less compared to before. Next, let's talk about the buffs in the patch notes, thanks to Bacon for all the translations. Versus Saitama, Saitama's skill Supreme Power level 4 gains a new effect, additional damage doubled. So what is additional damage? The additional damage is the strength of both sides and times the physical attack times 10%. It also includes the 100 points of strength as part of the calculation. Now, Saitama can easily get up to 500 strength, so doubling this additional damage is huge. For PvP, your damage will also be greatly improved, which is great. I noticed on my beta account that I was hitting much harder than before against MVPs, so this is a welcome buff that will definitely help you with lower deposits as well to one-shot things. Next is Saitama's skill Supreme Power level 7 gaining a new effect. During concentration battle's duration, damage to the target plus 50%, damage received from other damage minus 50%. Getting 50% extra damage during concentration battle is great, the damage duration is great too. Next, Saitama's skill Workout gains a new effect. After using, will gain 3 stacks, when attacking a monster will not cancel the stacked effect after attack. This is one of the best buffs in this re-release. When we used to have to manually work out 3 times to get the maximum stacks, it was very painful to do, and it's also very time consuming. It's really hard to do additional push-ups mid-battle, so this is definitely a very good buff. Now if you get 3 stacks right away, it's much easier to do. Also when attacking monsters, not losing the stacks is great, so this is a huge buff for PvE as well. Next, Saitama's exclusive weapon Holy Glorious Punch tier 5 gains a new effect. Workout limit increases by 2 stacks. Having 2 stacks is nice, but Holy Glorious Punch is still not good enough. Currently on global, 87% of the people use Titan since it's superior for PvE, and even for PvP when I looked at those people there, they also use Titan as well. For PvE, the extra damage to lower sized monsters is absolutely insane and very hard to replace, so Titan is definitely a must-have. I think more buffs are needed to make Holy Glorious Punch more competitive with Titan. Next are the Genos Buffs. First is Genos Firepower Boost Star Ruins Rechargeable Incendiary Gun. The damage was adjusted from 1 to 30% to 1 to 60%. This is a huge buff to Incendiary Gun, but unfortunately you'll need to reroll and get a second line again if you want to get the higher percentage. They really should have just buffed Incendiary Gun itself instead of updating the Ruin. It's kinda sneaky tactic here to make existing Genos reroll. Next is Genos Core Demon Cyborg 7 out of 7 gains a new effect. During modification, gains skill damage increase equal to remaining number of attacks times 10%. After modification ends, effect will remain for 10 seconds. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of dying to get the modification buff. It is good for PvP where you're most likely to die, but for PvE, in scenarios where you don't die, you don't get this big buff, so it's kind of a bummer. Next is Genos skill Firepower Upgrade. It gains a new effect. Effect can now be stacked, stackable to 3. Again, this requires being in modification, which means you have to die, so if you don't really get to take advantage of this buff. Next are the new weapon cards. Thanks to Cremacy for the translations. Again, you'll need to sell One Punch Man Gacha machine items to claim it. It costs 228 tokens, and this time there are 2 cards. Usually there's just 1. First is the Shadow Saitama card. It is a weapon card. Damage to single targets plus 8%. For every weapon refined plus 1, damage to single targets plus 1%. And for deposit, you also get damage to single targets plus 1%. Next is the Shadow Genos card. It's also a weapon card. Damage to multiple targets plus 8%. For every weapon plus 1, damage to multiple targets plus 1%, and its deposit is damage to multiple targets plus 1%. I will need to perform more damage tests once I get these. I also need to think about what cards to compare these against. For physical DPS, I think this will be a harder choice since dropping a damage to large monsters card is difficult, but for magic I think these are easier as replacements. Well, that's all. Are you excited for the One Punch Man collab re-release? Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Here's a video that I'd recommend, and if you want more sneak peeks, check out this playlist over here.